Hey everybody, welcome to Shot Callers Esports. I'm Matt Hempstead, this time joined by Eric Kummel on the desk. How are you, Eric?
I'm doing fantastic. Happy to be here, Matt.
Excellent. Well, Dardoch is going to Counterlogic Gaming after they transferred Xmithie to the Immortals. Pretty interesting move. Dardoch's a guy who's had some toxicity issues in the past, but he's always been a pretty talented jungler. Now he's off to this experienced roster in Counterlogic Gaming. How do you think he's going to fare?
Well, I think he'll do better under the leadership of guys like Afromu and an established brand like CLG. I think the toxicity things, he's going to be looking to put that into his past. And in the game, you know he's a talented guy. He pretty much had better stats across the board on Xmithie, and he was on a worse team. Not much worse, but worse for sure. So I think he's going to thrive in his role in CLG.
It's pretty interesting for Dardoch to go from a team with toxicity issues to a team that used to have toxicity issues all the time in the past with Dexter, Link, Seraph, the Dunzo Manifesto as it was.
Great read. Great read.
It was a great read, but he's definitely a talented guy, and you've seen him before carry games by himself on Immortals, on Team Liquid. Now he goes to a team with Huhi, Darshan, Stixxay, and Afram, a pretty talented roster who's been together for about a year now. He's going to jump in there and try to just be another carry role. So I do think that they'll be a pretty good team across the board. What are your eyes on for this CLG roster in the summer split?
Well, I think you can see that they struggled a bit in early games throughout all of last split, and adding a guy like Dardoch where he can influence pretty much every lane is definitely going to help them out. Really, the only lane that could win or stand out on CLG was their bottom lane. So I think maybe if you get Darshan on a split pushing champion and get Dardoch to camp him up there, you've seen that Darshan can take over games, even though he struggled a bit last year. I think once you get him on those champions he's comfortable with, something like Fiora, anything like that, Dardoch gets him going, that's going to be a strong point for CLG.
I agree with you. Now let's go to Xmithie, who's joining Immortals. Just missed out on the playoffs last split. Xmithie, not really a guy you rely on to carry too many games. Mechanically, he's struggled in the past, as we've all seen that Sejuani clip, which gets me every time.
There's multiple clips.
There's multiple clips. But I mean, he's really did step it up when he went to Counterlogic Gaming and had some good moments with them. But he's joining a roster that kind of lacks that carry potential. I mean, Pobelter had potential for forever, and the bot lane's a little sketchy. How do you think he's going to transform this Immortals line?
Yeah, you're right. I think they need a playmaker on that team, and I'm not sure Xmithie fits that mold. No. He's more of a passive jungler, and now it just looks like that roster almost from top to bottom is passive. So I don't know, they might just be sitting there waiting for the late game, and I don't even think they excel in that late game. Maybe Xmithie will prove us wrong. You saw earlier, the last few seasons, he was one of the most consistent guys on CLG for multiple splits. Last year he struggled a bit. Maybe he can find that old form again with Immortals, but I don't see it fitting too well for them there.
No, it's an interesting move for them. I mean, again, Dardoch probably had some toxicity issues there too. I know the coach had some interesting words when he left. But for that team, they really didn't have a great game unless Dardoch went off on them. Yeah. So for Xmithie, that's really not his style. He really likes to get other people ahead. Maybe Flame is that guy, as you mentioned, but in the spring split, he was really a tank player mostly. Dabbled on Rumble a little bit and Fiora from time to time, but when he's on those tanks, Nautilus 12 games, it doesn't look too good.
It's hard to pop off on Maokai and Nautilus. You're not going to 1v5 or 1v9 that game. But yeah, I think Flame is really the only guy who can look to carry like that. He's probably the most aggressive. Maybe Xmithie's going to have to completely change his play style. Don't really see that happening. So yeah, Immortals might just be playing some 50-minute slugfests.
So where do you see them finishing here? Closer to the bottom of that league?
It's a stretch for me to see them making the playoffs. You saw last year, they were close, kind of knocking on that door to get that 6th spot, but I think they're definitely hanging out towards the bottom 3 there. The good teams will just take advantage of their passive play style, I think.
So Xmithie to Immortals, Dardoch to CLG. How do you think these two teams will do with their brand new junglers? Let us know in the comments below. For Eric Kummel, I'm Matt Hempstead. Thanks for watching Shot Callers Esports.